Welcome everybody to another episode of Kny'tes in Review. I am Dave D. Saints and this is
Logan LeBeau.
And we had to come on and do our Kny'tes in Review a little earlier than usual. We usually shoot it on a Sunday. Today just happens to be New Year's Day. It is a Friday. But I'll tell you why we had to do this podcast now. Well, just recently we just decided to, being that Cobra Kai Season 3 was going to drop on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day at 3 o'clock in the morning. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day at 3 o'clock in the morning, we did a Karate Kid marathon, right?
Yep.
So we started this marathon and we decided to watch every single film, excluding the Jackie Chan film, which we will eventually watch, but we know that's just a rehash of the original story with Mr. Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso, which was directed by John G. Avildsen, who also directed the Rocky films, or the first Rocky film. So we decided to redo all of them. I've seen everything. He didn't remember the Karate Kid 3 and the next Karate Kid. And then while we were watching Cobra Kai Season 2, he didn't remember that either. So I don't know how you missed out on that.
Oh my God.
So we decided to start from the first one. Let's just start from the first one. It's a kid, Daniel LaRusso, and his mother are moving out from where?
Newark, New Jersey.
Newark, right around the corner from us. And I guess they're going to Reseda. Where's Reseda located?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Okay, so they move into like some kind of like apartment building. This is back in the 80s, and obviously they're moving it into the mom's not that rich. Kids riding a bike. They're moving into this place where supposedly it looked like it was a hotel.
It looked like it was apartment buildings.
Yeah,
like the projects.
As they're walking in, what was it that you said, that if he would have never said something, he would have never actually?
If you watch the movie and know the ending because you already seen the movie, he kicked the door down when he walked in. He kicked that thing.
He kicked the gate.
The gate, and he knocked the kid down. The kid was like, "Oh, you know karate." The minute he said a little bit. Right then and there, the whole purpose of the movie was that, hey, my friend knows karate now.
It's funny because he didn't know crap. It's like me saying,
know nothing.
It's like me. I went to in middle school. I had a French class, and I know like 3 or 4 different phrases. And people ask me, "You know French?" I always say little, but I don't know anything. I only know 4 phrases. So that's what I feel that Daniel LaRusso was like.
Of
he's
course.
like, he probably learned how to kick one kick and maybe one punch, and he's like, "What, do you know karate?" A little.
He said it later on in the movie that he learned it from the YMCA.
Okay.
So.
But that was still a weak kick. I feel like I could have taught him that, or probably I could have taught him probably better, because his kick, when you throw a straight kick, your kick has to be straight, leg locked, everything. Your knee has to be aligned with your shin and your thigh. His kick was bent.
Yep.
So right off the bat, you can see that it was not a real kick. Maybe it was, but to me, that doesn't seem like a real kick.
It was what you call in wrestling a toe kick.
It was a horrible kick. And then even his stance, when he's like this, it just seems like you're telegraphing yourself too much. Obviously I told you that I used to take karate and taekwondo? It was like a little bit of both. So you don't telegraph your stance like this, like LaRusso
like the
does
movies do.
Yeah, but if you see LaRusso compared to Johnny Lawrence, and Johnny Lawrence, he throws straight kicks, he throws nice roundhouses, and so you can see he's had some kind of a training. Daniel, it feels like they what's that called? What do you say when you what is it when you?
He was in the process of training.
No. when you perform for a director, you're in the midst. You do an audition. So it looks like he just did an audition. They told him right there what to do, and he freaking whatever. Well, point blank, Daniel LaRusso moves to Reseda in Los Angeles, and he gets invited to. That guy invites him to a party. A little party at the beach. Feels like he gets along with everybody because he's playing soccer with them and all that other stuff.
Especially one specific girl.
Well, not as of yet, but you see right off the bat, he's playing soccer with all these freaking people. It looks
Out of
like
nowhere.
It looks like he's a friendly
and
guy.
All because that is a fudging kick.
Yeah. So he becomes friendly, and that's when he meets Allie with an eye. Because I think he kicks the ball to her. And
it looks accidentally, but if you know.
Maybe. Afterwards, he's kind of showing off, and then he starts talking to her. They start kind of flirting, and that's when you find out that when the bad guy, I guess, the one that you can see is the villain of the movie, and his friends arrive, which is Johnny Lawrence, and they see that his girlfriend, or his ex-girlfriend at the time, is flirting. It looks like they're flirting, Daniel LaRusso and Allie with an eye, and he goes to talk to her, like, what are you doing? It looks like they just broke up or something.
Yep.
And he wants to just talk things out. Now, you can obviously see from that whole scene, right off the bat, who is the bully and who is the victim.
Of course. We already know Lawrence was the villain.
Yeah, we know.
We already knew.
But, so right off the bat, I was going to jump ahead, but I was like, wait a minute, hold up. So he's the victim. But he tries to defend Allie's honor, as well as defending himself. Takes a sucker punch right to Johnny Lawrence's face, and then he tries to tell him, "That's it, man. We're even. And no, it's not that even." So Johnny Lawrence decides to make Daniel literally the victim, and every chance he gets, he pounds him. Obviously, he's having a hard time. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to go back home. So he's literally become like the punk kid of the thing, until he accidentally runs into
Mr.
Miyagi, who decides to take him in after a little while of seeing that this kid really needs some kind of discipline, balance, strength, courage, all these different things. He decides to take him as a pupil, but without Daniel even knowing. He didn't even know, because he didn't even know that he was being trained.
Nope.
He's over here doing all these. As you see, if you're an '80s baby, then you know what this movie's about. We're 80s babies, so we obviously know what this movie was doing. A lot of kids nowadays, they don't see this type of stuff. They actually think that it's boring, which is really pitiful and sad. But whatever. It's out there. They can watch it. You parents talk them into watching these things so they can learn lessons. So whatever. He teaches them how to literally muscle strength by muscle memory by doing different chores. And Daniel decides, oh man, you're literally getting me to do all these different chores. You're not teaching me anything. And then Mr. Miyagi tells him, okay, well,
show me wax.
I haven't showed you anything, so show me wax floor. And he starts doing all these different martial arts. From that point on, what happens next?
Well, after that, he gets the confidence. He starts training fully training, but he's still getting bullied.
The whole dance, where he decides to dress up as a shower curtain, and he decides to, after getting beat up for so long, he decides that he wants to do something to retaliate.
He saw an opportunity. Literally, anybody, us, if that would happen to us, we would have took that opportunity.
Exactly, everybody. He drops water on top of Johnny Lawrence
while he's rolling a
doobie, dressed up in a skull outfit at school. They find out who it is. He's running through the crowd to get out, and Johnny and his boys chase him across the school, through a field. Eventually they get him, and they start beating the ever-living crap out of him. This is when everything starts to change direction. When you see Daniel is at his all-time low of getting jumped, and we finally meet Mr. Miyagi as the hero, who jumps over a gate and beats the crap out of these guys. From that point on, Mr. Miyagi accompanies Daniel to the Cobra Kai dojo, and this is where John Kreese, who is the teacher of the Cobra Kais, finds out that Mr. Miyagi beat the crap out of them. So he comes and confront each other, and they decide that they're gonna settle things out in the All Valley tournament. So Mr. Miyagi only has one student, And this is not even a Miyagi Do.
No, he's just an affiliate dojo. He just trained by Mr. Miyagi. That's it.
Yeah,
Literally. No
and then
dojo.
you got Cobra Kai who was going on. So
I think they had like what 4 people in the tournament.
They had way more than 4.
I remember the 2 guys in the beginning. The guy who says in the body bag and the other, the blonde. That's all I remember.
I thought I saw more in the whole class because the thing is the class was there.
Yeah,
and they come out Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai.
They were there for supporting.
Probably. Yeah, so well, continuing on, obviously, you see the tournament, everybody's fighting, you know, until finally there's only 2 left, with this Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso, and they John Kreese tells who was it? One of the guys to sweep the leg, hurts Daniel LaRusso. They go into the back. Mr. Miyagi does his little mojo, and Daniel LaRusso was able to come back out, because if he didn't come back out to fight, he would have to forfeit the tournament. So he comes back out, ends up fighting, and John Kreese tells Johnny Lawrence, sweep the leg again, go for the point, whatever. That's when you finally see the
infamous crane kick.
Infamous crane kick, and he finishes him off, and Danny wins the All-State tournament, the All-Valley tournament. Mm-hmm. That's part 1 in a nutshell. Part 2 comes into play, and it picks up right after part 1. You see the final kick again. They're leaving. Mr. Miyagi's leaving with Daniel with the trophy. You see Johnny Lawrence with the rest of the Cobra Kai students. You see John Kreese. He gets pissed off, goes up to Johnny, breaks his second place statue, gets him in a chokehold. Mr. Miyagi decides to step in, make an example of John Kreese. John Kreese decides to take his anger on him. He breaks through some glasses. Finally, what's his name?
Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi grabs him. He's about to finish him, hit him in the freaking nose, and then he just grabs his nose as a honk. That's the beginning of part 2. Then it goes off to where, what was it?
It was a montage of John Kreese realizing
that his life is pretty over. He's walking all over Los Angeles trying to get his life together, and then finally he ends up calling a favor from one of his past buddies from Vietnam, Terry Silver, who decides that we're going to bring it back. I'm going to help you. We're going to buy you a chain of Cobra Kais. We're going to get even with him, and we're going to be stronger. Mm-hmm. Don't worry. I got you. Da, 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 da. But that's part 2. That's part 3.
Yeah, that's part 3.
That's part 3. But in part 2...
Part 2 is basically after the tournament and everything, Mr. Miyagi got a phone call that his dad was sick. So he has to go to Okinawa, Japan with Daniel. Well, Daniel decides to go with him. And that's where obviously he meets a bunch of people like Sato, who... What's the story with Sato and the woman that they fought for, that was supposed to fight for? Sato was he was fighting for honor for his uncle.
No, Sato was they were supposed to fight for the love of a woman.
Oh yeah, no,
they were supposed to fight to death.
She never married him.
Yeah, but they were supposed to fight to death, and Mr. Miyagi ended up leaving.
He left instead of fighting. He left.
He left, and now that they're back, Sato is pissed off, and Sato has a nephew named Chosen, who, just like John Kreese and Johnny, like John Kreese has this vendetta against, figure. Yeah, everything passes on from the father to the son, like anger, frustration. So obviously Sato's the uncle, Chosen is the one underneath him. So being that Sato is pissed off at Mr. Miyagi, Chosen is going to take out his aggression against Daniel LaRusso.
You know what I just realized? That with all John Kreese walking around in LA, that little montage.
That was in part 3.
I know, but all that montage part was happening in between in part 2.
Yeah.
To think about it, because I don't want to jump forward, but at the ending of the beginning of part 3 is the ending of.
Yeah.
So that montage was. I didn't notice that. I just realized it now.
Oh no, I realized that, but you were like, "Oh, I didn't see that part." I'm like, "Yeah, that was."
Yeah, I remember the montage him walking, but I didn't remember that one him walking up the hill.
That specific one.
Yeah.
So obviously they go to Okinawa, Japan. Sato has this beef with Miyagi.
They picked him up at the airport.
Yeah, they picked him up, but they just wanted to take him down so they can set that the beef is still going on. Chosen has beef with Daniel. So as they get over through that, they go through Okinawa, Japan. They walk into Toomey village. Toomey village. They're going around. He ends up meeting this Asian girl who he kind of catches feelings for. Her name was Kumiko. So Kumiko, she's young, whatever. Vital, whatever the case, and she ends up starting to get a crush for him too. And eventually, they do this little tea thing where it's pretty much a ritual where you're telling the person that you have chosen to love that you're really interested in. You pretty much, I guess, want to start talking, or get ready, or woo each other.
No, that's telling you that you love each other.
That you woo each other.
Because remember, Mr. Miyagi did it to the girl. So,
but she's doing it to him, and he's like, "Okay, I'll drink your tea."
Yeah,
but it's a very precise type of ritual where they have to put like the little spoon. It has to be specific. No falling down. No spinning.
Spin twice. Spin 3 times. Pass it. Spin once. Spin twice. Drink it. Spin once. Spin twice. Spin 3. Put it down. It's a
series of crazy things. I mean, I would have just been like, give me that.
Because what it is technically, you're not drinking off the spot she drank from.
Okay.
You have to drink the complete opposite. That's what the spins are for. She drinks, holds it, spin, stop, grab, spin, stop, third spin. It would be 1, 2, right there, and he would drink from the opposite.
Gotcha.
Introducing you drank from the same cup.
Gotcha. So they do that. And in the midst of all this, Daniel LaRusso is still getting picked on by Chosen. Finally, Mr. Miyagi has his beef with Sato. They're supposed to be fighting to the death. But things happen where this tornado happens, this blizzard. I guess it was a monsoon.
It was something. It was a really bad rainstorm.
And they're related. They're not brothers.
They're not brothers. What it is that
they were trained by the same sensei.
Miyagi's dad trained Miyagi, and Miyagi said, "Hey, Dad, I consider him my brother. Can you train him too?" And then he did.
Yeah. So they got trained by the same guy.
Person.
Even though they were trained by the same person, their rivalry still stood. But the monsoon came. I guess it was a hut fell down, crushing Sato. This beam crushed him. What's his name? Daniel and Miyagi went out to help them. Chosen came out of the hut stating that Sato was dead.
Which he wasn't.
They found him. Sato is underneath this beam. He's cursing the crap out of Miyagi. Miyagi's about to strike the board and crack it in half. This whole time, Sato's thinking that he's gonna kill him. He's like, "This is the only way you can beat me by getting me while I'm weak, while I'm down, and all this stuff." But no, he just broke the board, saved them, and then at the same time, what happens next?
Well, at the same time, they start pick him up, walking toward where they were, like a little bunker, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Danielson hears a little girl crying, which
this girl stayed up there.
We did not know why she was up there, but she was up there
clinging the bell.
She didn't want to jump out of there, and Danielson went up to get her.
It's funny how you keep calling him Danielson.
Danielson.
It's Daniel's son. Daniel.
He went up to get her, and then the uncle Sato literally was like, "You go help her."
Telling Chosen to help Daniel,
and he didn't want to.
And he didn't want to because he was scared.
He hurried into the back of the room and just looked down
and disappeared.
He went out and Sato went out to help instead.
Yeah. He told him.
Came back.
Sato tells Chosen, "You're dead.
Now you're dead to me."
And then he was ashamed and ran into the rain, and we never saw him.
Which we thought he might have died after that. We didn't know he was coming back. Again. Yeah.
After that, Sato was very, very pleased with the bravery of Daniel and Miyagi, that he thanked him and he wanted to help him out and all this stuff. And at that very moment,
Sato came.
No, Kumiko tells Daniel, ask him, and they decide, because earlier in the movie, they saw this castle.
An abandoned castle.
This abandoned castle where they used to have these parties, these ceremonies, and since he owns it now, he decided never again to use that. But now that they were kind of cool, he asked them, "Can we use it?" And he said, "Yes. From this point on, we will use the castle for our ceremony." So from that point on, they move into the castle to finish off their ceremony. What's her name? Kumiko decides to do a little dance, and that's the dance that
got her. That one dance.
She did one dance and moved on to New York and decided to become a ballerina.
We love these movies. I'll admit to it, but there's always a flaw that we look at now. It's not like me. I'm gonna go to a wrestling event, jump in the ring, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's like, I like the way you jump in the ring. Let's go. You're a wrestler now. Like, I'm sorry.
She did a little dance and that's it.
She's off to college, and it was amazing.
All right, so she went off to college, and they're still partying inside the little castle, and they're doing the celebration. Everybody's having a good time. What's her name? Decides that she wants. Kumiko decides that she was gonna dance in this little island in the middle of the castle. All of a sudden, if you look in the back, you see a person dressed up like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat swinging down the frigging line and drops in the center. He grabs Kumiko about to stab her with some kind of knife. Tells Daniel, "Get inside the middle of the ring. We're gonna fight to the death." And then they they drop the bridge. They start this fight. And obviously, in every movie, Daniel has to learn a certain type of skill. In the first movie, it was the ninja crane. In the second one, he has to learn the drums.
Which is... The drum set does this. But the fighting style for the drum is...
Yeah.
But then when... Fast forward, when we see somebody else do it, it was block, punch.
Yeah, when you see Daniel doing it, he's just like,
the camera angle is bad.
So this was the drum. He had to learn the technique of the drum, and he learns it like on a kind of like a stool type pillar thing. But the thing that he was throwing him had a knife.
Yeah, but he
one wrong move, he could have killed him.
He put a cork on it though.
Oh, okay.
Remember, you don't see the first one he put a cork when the Danielson was like, hey, let me try the second one by myself. And he got his whole shirt.
Okay. So, so they have this little fight or whatever, and instead, it's supposed to be a fight to the death, but unfortunately, this is a chance where Daniel ends up getting chosen one, and he goes, live or die, make your choice, and he's like, die. And when he goes wrong, and he goes, and that's how the movie ends. They end up coming back to the United States. Boom, boom, boom. That's where part 3 takes place. They come back to the United States, and that's what the montage that we were talking about of John Kny'tes. This takes place again back. The very beginning starts again from part 1, where John Kny'tes ends up being humiliated in front of his students. So he gives up Cobra Kai, goes on a montage of the streets or whatever, and then he calls in a favor from his Vietnam buddy Terry Silver, who he helped out.
And the beginning of part 3 literally is the ending of part 2, where they get Mr. Miyagi and Danielson get out the airport, and at first you don't see that. At first you see John Kny'tes getting John Silver at the airport.
John Kny'tes and John Silver?
Terry Silver. I get them names mixed up.
John Kny'tes, John Silver, John Wayne,
Mr. Silver, and Mr. Reese.
Okay.
They pick him up at the airport and they drive off. But the minute they drive off camera, Mr. Miyagi and Danielson come out the airport.
Oh, true.
Like literally, like the minute they drive off camera, they're coming out the airport.
So obviously, John Kny'tes has literally fallen. He's probably hit rock bottom at this point. He's lost so much credibility. So obviously he calls in a favor from Terry. Terry decides that he's going to buy him a chain of Cobra Kai's, and then he's going to put him back on top. He says by the end of this, we're going to get him back in the All Valley tournament. By the end of this tournament, we're going to humiliate the crap out of him. So, what's his name? They talk about the bonsai trees. This is a thing that Mr. Miyagi wants to do. So they go, and he meets the girl, the redhead. Well, Jessica Andrews, is it?
Yeah, I don't remember her character's name.
I think it's Jessica Andrews, which is played by Robin Lively, who, off the bat, you think that this is going to be Daniel LaRusso's third love interest, but they did it right this time.
Within literally
a span of like
2 years?
2 years is going to be his third love interest, because Ali with an I.
Cool.
Ali with an I and him broke up because something to do with the car. Or
no. We find out later why.
No, but he said it too.
He said that she crashed the car.
She crashed the car. And then it's just so funny that, and later on we find out that she admits that he probably blamed her.
But we're going too far on that. We're going too
forward into the future. But continuing on, Kumiko, she ended up going dancing
to college
or whatever, which he was pissed off at too. And then in here, it's good because you think that they're going to give her... She has a boyfriend. Jessica Andrews has a boyfriend. But they're friends. And you think that they're going into a whole love interest thing in there. But unfortunately, they didn't take it that way, which was pretty cool. They didn't go that way. They decided to just keep him as friends. And it was awesome. She decided to help him out because she was a painter, right?
She was a pottery
person, and she helped make the pots for the bonsai trees too, because they decided to open up a bonsai. What was it? Mr. Miyagi's little plants, or Mr. Miyagi's little bonsai.
Mr. Miyagi's little trees.
So they were gonna do that, but what's his name? John Kreese and Terry Silver decided to get a champion, which was Mike Barnes, to come out to challenge Daniel LaRusso to go back into the All Valley tournament so they could embarrass him and they could make him lose.
And the way they did it, they literally came up with a mind plan. Silver was rich. He was flat out rich. He pretended to be poor. He told Daniel that Reese was dead. He literally He conned him good. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be honest, I would have fell for it too. He conned him really good.
And then Mr. Miyagi didn't want to train him because he was like, oh, if you're going to join this thing, because
you already proved your point.
He was like, you already proved your point. You already learned. There's no reason for you to fight. If you want to do this, you're going to have to go without me. And then Daniel LaRusso decides to join Cobra Kai and seek help. So Terry Silver tries to start training him in their original ways. Supposedly John Kreese is dead at this point. So it's a whole new Cobra Kai. He's teaching him different things. But no, it's strike first, strike hard, no mercy. So he decides to take him under his wing, but he starts teaching him. He starts teaching him soft, here, there. And then finally he starts teaching him like pain, showing him pain. He starts busting his knuckles on boards. He bruises all over his arms, his legs. Mr. Miyagi teaches him how to do this this feet-smelling liquid that helps him heal.
It reminded me of Epsom salt. I'm telling you that right now.
Me too, but it also reminded me of the movie Wanted, when they get hurt and they dip themselves in that thing and they're healed. Yeah. So he learned how to do it. And Mr. Miyagi starts noticing that he's always walking into the home bruised up. So he asks him, why are you doing this? He's like, well, I have problems. You're not here to help me, so I have to find a solution myself. Blah, blah, blah. And it continues from there. Eventually, Daniel decides that he wants nothing to do with Cobra Kai. He decides to leave Cobra Kai. This whole time, Mike Barnes has been making his life a living hell along with his cronies. They are the ones who made him sign the application to join the All Valley tournament. So this whole time, Daniel LaRusso thinks that Terry Silver was trying to train him to fight Mike Barnes. But when he goes to tell him, I'm not going to be in Cobra Kai anymore, you find out Terry Silver has been planning this, had this master plan.
Reese comes out of the background.
Not yet, because when he walks back, Mike Barnes comes out, and you find out that Mike Barnes has been working with Terry Silver the whole time. And as he starts heading out of Cobra Kai, John Kreese, who was supposedly dead, pops out of a sign, and you find out that they've been scheming this whole plan the whole time. So Daniel decides to run out, and Terry Silver sends Mike Barnes to catch him. And then all of a sudden, he flies through the window. You see Mr. Miyagi come out. He literally lays a smackdown on not only Mike Barnes, John Kreese, and then he makes fun of Terry Silver with his wah, wah, and then he kicks him, and a big thing of paint falls on his head. It's just a crazy thing. And right after that, they go into the whole. So the All Valley tournament starts. They had obviously at this point, Daniel LaRusso asks Mr. Miyagi, "Will you train me now?" After seeing what he's up against, Mr. Miyagi says yes. So what is he? He takes him up to train. All they're doing is kata, which is a whole bunch. It's literally
it's meditation with
balance.
movements. Well, not finding balance. The balance was the breathing.
Yeah, but I mean, kata also
was
teaches you
meditation
balance.
with the whole movement.
So I didn't see no kicking or fighting there.
It was just
it's just the little whistle of the music in the background and stuff. So yeah, that's the training, and then they go into the All Valley tournament, and it looks like it's just Mike Barnes versus him, because I don't remember seeing
because he didn't have to fight anybody else.
Yeah,
because since he was
he was a
returning champion.
Yeah.
He just fought whoever won the tournament, and then champion versus whoever wins champion.
Alrighty, gotcha.
So he didn't have to fight. Daniel didn't have to fight at all.
Gotcha. So right off the bat, you see that Mike Barnes is way overpowering Daniel LaRusso and everybody else. so excuse me, hiccups. And then the final fight happens, and he's beating the ever-living crap out of Daniel LaRusso. And at one point, Daniel decides that he's going to give into fear, and he's going to give up.
I'm afraid of him!
Mike Barnes is like, no, get up, LaRusso, get up. They're like telling him, no, you owe me, all that stuff. Mr. Miyagi gets in his face, starts telling him, you got to get up, He's like, no, I'm afraid. Finally, Mr. Miyagi says, focus.
The karate.
Focus.
The best karate is inside you.
The big karate is inside you. Hiya. And then that's when finally LaRusso stands up and starts the kata and everything. And
distracts this guy.
Distracts him, and then finally he gets the point, and you see Mr. Miyagi go.
Basically, without doing this, but
every movie they always finish with a big old smile on his face. Then moves on to the next Karate Kid, which wasn't really. It was as far as canon goes.
It was a sequel for Mr. Miyagi. That's what
it was. A sequel for girls. And then they continued with Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi talks about LaRusso living with Boy for a while, but it was literally. People, I guess the Columbia Pictures was trying to go after a different what's that called? Different set of people, which was females, by bringing Hilary Swank into the mix, and having Mr. Miyagi interact with a female, which is kind of hard. So, give us a brief synopsis of this sequel.
Well, comes from Hilary Swank's her character.
I guess this would be a spin-off or something.
I would consider a spin-off, but like I said, it's a sequel for him for that one character, because that was it, literally. The film's basically Hilary Swank's character. She is a girl whose parents passed away in a car accident, and
she's kind of
she's living with her
She's
grandmother.
kind of on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yep.
Her biggest interest is this little bird that's not a bird, a hawk, an eagle or a hawk that's up, that got injured. The wing got injured and she keeps it living upstairs on the roof of the school. There's this, I guess, the hall monitors or something.
No, they're supposed to be. They remind me of an ROTC program.
They're like the police of the school, like
they're students.
JROTC or
they're
safety
ROTC program.
I don't know.
It was weird.
And it's run by guys.
They were allowed to beat the crap out of anybody.
They're run by guys, and the Michael Ironside is like the head of them. And honestly, I guess the head guy wanted her badly or something, and she ends up becoming friends, or I guess interested in this security guy from the train tracks or the train yard. And she's just. It's a very complex film. So her mother or her guardian goes off to, I guess, Reseda, Los Angeles, to stay in Mr. Miyagi's house, because I guess they're friends, and he decides to stay here. Well, not friends.
That the grandmother's husband, who passed away in the beginning of the film, was the guy Mr. Miyagi saved in the military.
So then Mr. Miyagi decides to stay in the house, taking care of the daughter, or whatever. Mr. Miyagi. This was more of a comedy.
It was. It was a buddy comedy without.
It was known supposedly as a drama film, but this was more of a comedy. Yeah. It was a comedic film because Mr. Miyagi obviously is a male being with Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah.
They're both men. But now he is with a female. There's one scene where he walks into her room and she's changing her shirt and she's in her bra and she walks out and says, "I'm a female. Don't you know what this is? Are you crazy?" And all of a sudden, when she walks into the room, she sees Mr. Miyagi going, "Oh, bad Miyagi, bad Miyagi."
But yeah, he doesn't. All he wants to do is teach her stuff, but not training her. The minute she almost gets hit by a car,
he sees that she
does a tiger stance, and that's what caught his interest.
Mm-hmm.
That literally wanted him to teach her, similar to Daniel.
That's the only scene that I remember as a kid watching.
From the trailers.
After I got out of school, I would watch like Darkwing Duck and all those other cartoon shows, and I remember seeing the trailer where she jumps on top of the car. And he said, "Why you?" As he calls her Julie-san. Julie-san, how you know how to do that? Jump into tiger stance and all that stuff. But yeah, pretty much. Why does she decide that she wants to learn karate?
She wants to learn karate to beat up the guys.
Is that the reason why? Because she wants to learn how to defend
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, this movie pushed really hard that she was about to get raped by the guy. And it pushed it really hard. She snuck into the school again for the second time to go try to feed the eagle or hawk, whatever it was, and they were there waiting for her. And the exact word was, "There's more of us." I'm like,
yeah, it was 4 of them.
Like literally, like the only thing that comes to us is
they're gonna rape her.
Yeah, like it was forced. Really
and obviously, what's her name? Hilary Swank at the time was really young, and she was very well formed. Her body was really. And she wore like kind of like revealing clothing, so right off the bat you think that these guys are after one thing and they're gonna get it. So she asks Mr. Miyagi for help, and Mr. Miyagi decides to take her to a temple, a monk temple to be precise, and obviously they go up there. He starts training her somewhat because I think the training that they did was really corny. So I guess it was just trying to teach her discipline. Because in this movie, she doesn't really fight anybody.
No, this movie
she's not going into the All Valley. She's not doing anything. Nope. It's just about to finding. Because when she comes back from the training, she is refined.
Yeah.
So she finds a way, a balance. But you actually see her. She actually makes a bunch of. She gets a lot of fathers because they're all like dads to her.
The monks.
There's a scene where she's gonna kill a cockroach. And because to her, a cockroach is just a cockroach, but to the monks, the cockroach has life. No matter how disgusting it is, and no matter how small it is, it's still life, so they respect life. So they start to shun her until she decides to devise a plan of getting a praying mantis and give it to one of the monks. And from that point on, I guess they get under good graces. One of the main scenes that I remember when I first saw the movie was my introduction to the band of the Cranberries. There's a sequence where she goes into this like empty hall where she puts her little stereo. She puts the song on and she starts doing her little kata. But at the same time that she starts doing the kata, you hear the song Dreams. Mm-hmm. I think it's called Dreams by Cranberries. And I remember hearing that song, and I remember also hearing that song in a commercial. That they did coronavirus. And then from that point on, as time went by, I listened to Zombie, Linger, and all these other Cranberry songs, and it was a very, very heartfelt, broken-hearted story when I heard that. When I heard the news of the lead singer of Cranberries that passed away, coronavirus. So pretty much, she goes off to. With the guy from the train yard too. She asks, I guess one of them asks each other. They're both high school students, yet they have such serious jobs or whatever. I mean, I guess the guy, the train yard guy, is more of a serious thing, and they look like they're old 30s. But yeah, they go to a high school dance.
They got the Saved by the Bell syndrome.
The whole high school dance, and then I love the scene that when Mr. Miyagi looks like Will Smith when he sees the daughter, he's like, "You bring her back at 12 o'clock. I'll bring her back at 1. What you do for extra hour?"
Yeah.
And he's like, but he's acting like a responsible parent, which is pretty cool. You respect her.
He holding a knife, chopping a pickle, which we all know what that meant.
Yep.
We all know.
Chop that pickle. So, Obviously, that movie ends. Obviously, that was with the budget. I mean, with the reception of the movie wasn't too good. Obviously, this wasn't an All Valley tournament. It was more of a comedic a spew. So
it was just a woman empowerment film.
Pretty much, they just wanted to try out what would happen if they brought a girl. If they put a girl into the story, but it fell through. Obviously, we waited many years until everything started to be remade in Hollywood. They remade it. Will Smith was attached to it, and a bunch of other people were attached to it. They remade The Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. And it was
the trailer made it look good.
It was brief. It was the same exact story as the first Karate Kid, so that's why we're not really gonna delve into this one too much because it's the exact same story, just retold.
Like very, very minor tweaks.
Minor tweaks, especially since Jaden Smith is a black character. He's not.
And instead of moving to LA, they moved to Japan,
and they meet these little kids, but it's pretty much the same story. They just changed it up. It's just little kids this time, and yeah, the movie I thought was amazing to watch in the theaters. I was really hoping they would make a sequel. They never did. This movie, rather than have the crane kick, he does some cobra spin thing, whatever. And one of the biggest things that this movie was called Karate Kid, but it wasn't about karate. He was learning kung fu. So in reality, they should have just done a spin-off called The Kung Fu Kid or something like that.
Like I said, the only thing that got me in this movie was that everybody they kept the name The Karate Kid. If it wasn't that name, this movie would have done good. But because of that name, people were expecting something, and it didn't. Turn out.
It was literally the same story as the first one. So, yeah. As a matter of fact, during this Karate Kid marathon, we still haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that's.
We're still debating if we should.
Yeah.
But we'll jump over that. From the next Karate Kid, we'll go right into Cobra Kai Season 1, which came out, 3 years ago?
3 years
or
ago.
Or was it 4 years ago? Due to the pandemic, this Cobra Kai Season 3 was delayed.
I think it might have been 4 years ago.
I think it was 4 years ago.
Came out on YouTube.
So, YouTube Red originals, 30-minute show, 10 episodes, runs by really quick. You can watch it in 5 hours. Now it got bought up by Netflix, meaning that YouTube wasn't producing good content. Excuse me. Netflix now has their hands on it, so you can watch it on Netflix. Shameless plug, whatever, doesn't mean anything. So, story starts off. We saw Daniel LaRusso's story with the Karate Kid. Now it's Johnny Lawrence's turn. Movie starts off. Johnny Lawrence has literally hit pretty much rock bottom. He even said it in the latest one that he partied all through 20s, all through the 30s, and his life has pretty much been straight messed up. But Daniel, on the other hand, is the owner of
kicking the competition, chopping down prices.
He's the owner of a chain of LaRusso Motors cars, which he sells cars.
Yep.
You know. He has a beautiful house.
2 kids.
2 kids, a daughter that's gorgeous, a beautiful wife. Anything that could happen to him happened. So everything that Johnny Lawrence was in Karate Kid, rich guy, and Daniel was poor, they flipped the script. Now you got Daniel Lawrence who's the rich guy. Yep. Johnny Lawrence is the poor guy. It was, just to begin with, it was crazy to see this. We see Johnny Lawrence. He tries to start up Cobra Kai, brings these kids, and you're rooting for Johnny Lawrence the whole time. Then all of a sudden, Daniel comes in. You know that Daniel is the good guy from Karate Kid.
Yep.
And you want to root for him, but you're kind of torn between both sides. What's his name? Daniel takes in a student of his own, Robbie, who just happens to be the son of Johnny Lawrence, and literally starts teaching him without even knowing that this is his son. So they're doing all this stuff that it feels like they're going against each other, and literally it's just for each other. If you want to give it more of a breakdown.
No, it's basically the kid started learning karate because he wanted revenge for his father. Robbie
felt that his father
wasn't paying attention to him because Lawrence
he was a bad father.
His new mentor is this kid named Miguel.
mentee. Because he is the mentor.
Yeah. Mentee is this kid named Miguel. And
so to be precise, Johnny Lawrence decides to stop being a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Decides to start trying to be a role model. So he takes in this new kid named Miguel. One kid. And he's trying to restart Cobra Kai. So he starts teaching him. As time goes by, people start seeing that his training is going well.
Yep.
So he starts bringing his friends over, a bunch of geeks. So Johnny Lawrence, only teaching them the way that he has learned, the way of the fist, by being a total dick, starts to mistreat all these kids. A few of them leave, a few of them stay. So they become hard asses, especially this one guy he calls Lip, who later on, his real name is Eli.
Eli.
But he calls him Lip, and then afterwards he tells him flip the script. And then when he goes out, he leaves, you think that he quits, he comes back, he has a mohawk, a tattoo, and now he is known as Hawk. So they start becoming badasses for Cobra Kai season 1. They start learning the way of the fist. Daniel LaRusso sees that what Johnny Lawrence is doing. He thinks that he is trying to restart Cobra Kai and start training these kids in the way that Johnny Lawrence was trained. And Daniel's like, I'm not going to have this. So he decides to start open up his dojo, and it's called Miyagi-Do. But at first he just starts bringing back the old ways of his teaching, of the way that Miyagi taught him. Finally, Robbie decides to get even with his dad, starts to work for LaRusso, but somehow he ends up liking LaRusso, and he starts being trained by LaRusso, and you start seeing all these different things happen within the series. You're rooting for Cobra Kai, but as well you're rooting for Daniel LaRusso. So at the same time, you don't know where to go. Finally, the All Valley tournament happens, and they all go in. At this point, Daniel LaRusso finds out that Robbie is the son of Johnny Lawrence, and he decides to stop teaching him, disowns him, thinking that Johnny Lawrence and Robbie are in cahoots. At the same time, Miguel is going out with Daniel's daughter. What was Daniel's daughter? His name?
Amanda?
No. I forgot her name.
Samantha.
So
I knew it ended with an A.
He starts dating her. You knew it was.
I said Amanda, and then I said Samantha. I was like, I knew it ended with an A.
Okay, so Seagram's ginger ale, no shameless plug. So yeah, they're dating, and then something happens where Miguel misconstrues Samantha hanging out with Robbie too much. So there's this beef that starts. They have the All Valley tournament. Right there is where you see Miguel do the ninja crane kick for the first time. For the second time, I mean, well,
first time for
he
the
does
series,
it as a mock.
Second time for us.
Yeah, he does it for a mock.
Well, third time for us, because he did it in part 2 of the movie.
What about when Hawk does the Superman punch?
Yeah,
that was pretty crazy. But yeah,
and during this tournament, literally we're rooting for like both Miguel and Robbie.
We don't know who to vote for. We're torn between two people, because at this point you could see that the one's a bad guy, one's a good guy, but you've grown to love both sides, so you don't know who you want to win. In every Karate Kid movie, Daniel LaRusso had to learn a specific skill to defeat the bad guy. In the first movie, it was the crane kick. Second one, it was the drums. The third one, it was the kata. So, in this one, obviously, there's a specific skill that's taught to Robbie,
one-handed double
which is a one-handed double kick, and Robbie does it. Unfortunately,
wasn't the winning point.
It wasn't the winning point, because Miguel ends up getting him. He strikes, Cobra Kai wins, and Cobra Kai goes off to end. And then the two special endings was that you see Samantha in the dojo, and she does this like front flip thing, I don't know, and then you know that she's definitely going to join Miyagi-Do dojo, which is going to be for season 2. And then the special ending is when Johnny Lawrence is inside the dojo. In the back, door opens, he comes out, he says, "We're not open for business," and all of a sudden you hear who it is, and who is that?
The voice, Mr. Reese.
John Kreese comes back from the dead. again because supposedly he was dead in part 3, and he died. Everybody thought that he died in real life. This dude comes back. So right there, we are left with a year of waiting for season 2. Finally, season 2 comes. John Kreese, Johnny Lawrence have it out. They fight, whatever.
They almost burned down the dojo.
They almost burned down the dojo. But I've been talking all the time. Can you give us at least the beginning? Because I know that I'm going to jump in this.
Okay, season 2. We have LaRusso's trying to get his daughter to learn more because she was just doing it just to.
Now it's going to be her daughter, daughter, and Robbie.
And Robbie. You have Miguel, who is literally realizing that he's more of a badass than he is. And you have...
Well, what happens at the beginning with Johnny, now that he realizes everything he's taught them was wrong.
He wants to do the whole get rid of no mercy. No mercy does not mean fighting with no honor.
Everything that he's taught them because of the way Hawk and Miguel won the tournament, he saw that it was all wrong.
Yep.
So now everything that he's taught him, he's trying to erase and reinstate.
And what kind of gets mad is that we know not to. When you come from a bad past, you don't want to have anything to do with that bad past. And Johnny did the first mistake and let Reese back into his dojo.
After talking to him, after seeing where he was and all this other stuff. You know, quote unquote.
Yeah, because he played him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he played him hard. But so he brings him back. John Kreese is kind of like overseeing everything that Johnny Lawrence is doing in the dojo. The way that the kids are reacting, they're joking, they're playing. He doesn't want none of this. He wants strict discipline in the dojo. At the same time, Johnny Lawrence ends up opening Miyagi-Do actually inside Mr. Miyagi's old house, and that's where Miyagi-Do is being trained. And as you see people leave Cobra Kai, they start going into Miyagi-Do, and they start getting their own team of students.
Yep.
So now you got two opposing forces, which is Miyagi-Do versus Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai, even though Johnny Lawrence is having his debates against John Kreese because John Kreese wants him to be more of a hard ass, but Johnny Lawrence wants to be more of a, I guess, he doesn't want to go on the same ways and the same coattails as John Kreese used to teach his students. But excuse me, the whole time they kind of go back and forth. John Kreese is teaching them how to be more of a hard ass. Johnny Lawrence is trying to get rid of all that. So the students are pretty much
conflicted,
being torn apart and conflicted which way to go. There's a scene where they go into this cement truck where they have to move the cement truck as a team. They have to learn all these different skills, and then you got Miyagi-Do, where you got Daniel LaRusso teaching Samantha LaRusso and Robbie how to balance themselves on a pond and all that stuff. Yeah. You see the differences of the way that they teach him. But as the story goes, they get into fights.
Yeah, and while the connection of Samantha and Robbie are getting stronger, Samantha's connection with Miguel, they're breaking apart. They broke up. They literally got into fights or arguments.
And that's where you get the character of Tori, who ends up joining Cobra Kai and becomes Miguel's new love interest, and Robbie becomes the love interest of Samantha. So, a lot of stuff happens in between. We don't want to go into too much specifics, even though everything here has been a spoiler from the beginning to the end. But if you've seen it,
we don't want to spoil the show too much, even though we are going to do spoilers.
Everything is a spoiler. We're going into season 3. I don't care.
We want you guys to watch this.
We want you to watch
because we went. My hairs are going up. We went from season 1 to holy crap! This guy is back. Season 2 to they're doing it again.
And then season 3 where oh my gosh.
Whoo!
So after season 2. There's a bunch of stuff leading up to the grand finale. Obviously, you got two opposing dojos. One, like they go into this party. It all ends up in the culmination of this house party where they are all like literally conflicting with each other, and it just keeps the tensions keep rising and rising, and then finally
the school opens up again.
Not yet. There's a scene in the party where Samantha, drunk, ends up kissing Miguel, who they had broken up in the previous season, but as they're drunk, they end up kissing. Tori ends up witnessing this. Then that ends. Then it goes into the final episode where they're in the school. They're all in class and blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, morning announcements. Intercom gets intercepted. What do you hear?
Samantha Russo, you know what you did. And she's gonna beat the shit out of her.
She's like, I'm gonna get you, bitch.
Oh man.
So I don't know where the teachers go. I think all the teachers decided to run for their life. And they go to the center, and you see Samantha and Tori kind of circle each other, while Robbie and Miguel are on opposite sides of the spectrum of the school, and they're running. And then all of a sudden, Robbie stands behind Tori.
In perfect time, because he heard you.
He stands right behind Tori, and she says, I saw what you did. You kissed Miguel. And then she looks at Robbie. Robbie looks at her. And then as soon as that happens, Tori throws the first punch. They start fighting. And then what happens?
At that moment, Robbie's trying to separate the fight. All Robbie did was grab Tori and held her against the wall, with telling Samantha to stop. You could clearly hear him about to say, let's find another way to... Then he gets tackled by Miguel. So Robbie wasn't doing anything. If Miguel would have went walking, nothing would have happened.
Pretty much.
Nothing. But no, Miguel said, boom, the Spanish blood.
As soon as they start that fight,
that was it.
All of a sudden you hear Hawk say, "This is on!" And both dojos start this big old rumble inside the high school. Little guy against little guy, big guy against big guy, girl against girl, guy against guy, and then all the other ensemble cast just beating the ever-living crap of each other. Some people end up inside, like is it the gym? I don't know. They end up in halls all over the place. It's mad mayhem. Was it cats and dogs living with each other? It's mass hysteria. and then you see Ghostbusters. No.
They fight to the second floor.
They fight all over the place. They work up these stairs. They get to the second floor.
And then
finally, the two girls end up going right back down, and Miguel and Robbie are on top. And what happens then?
They start fighting. It's to the point where Miguel is about to break Robbie's arm, and Miguel is literally flashbacking to what Sensei told them about. We must fight with honor, and no mercy has to stop. It is no mercy, but it's not no mercy without no honor. So Miguel, you hear him saying, "I'm sorry." He says it, lets his go arm, and says, "I'm sorry." But the minute the word sorry came out of his mouth, Robbie's let out a big roar and just sucker elbowed him in the face, picked him up, kicked him to the thing, and all of a sudden did another kick, knocking him off the balcony.
And he falls, this crazy fall onto the banister at the bottom, and he's literally, at that point, he could have been killed. Robbie,
I thought he was killed when I saw that. I thought that was it.
Robbie disappears at that very point, and then the next thing you find him in the hospital, and then the next moment you go and you see that Johnny Lawrence goes into... Oh, no, wait, not yet. No, Johnny Lawrence is at the beach. No, he's at the beach. And he's doing... I forget what he's doing at the beach.
He was drinking.
He was drinking. He throws his bottle at his... No, he throws his bottle at his car. Then he sees his phone. He throws his cell phone. And then all of a sudden you see... Because during the course of...
He got rid of the car too. He threw the car keys into the car. He got rid of the car.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see it.
He got rid of the car.
So... During the season, you find out that because he meets up with Daniel LaRusso, and at one point they kind of like piece things out.
And one episode,
Daniel LaRusso teaches him how to use Facebook, and then they find out where Allie is, who is the Allie with an eye from the first film, and how to contact her. So he ends up sending her a message. So she sends him a friend request, and that's at the end when he throws his phone to the beach.
Friend request.
All of a sudden, when the camera pans to the phone, it says, Allie with an eye has sent you a friend request. Then after that, he heads to the dojo. As he walks into the dojo, what does he see?
He sees
John Kreese has taken over
the whole
Cobra
dojo.
Kai too, and Cobra Kai, and he's gotten kicked out pretty much of the thing. And that's the end of season 2. And then we had to wait because the show was supposed to come out a long time ago, I believe. But during this pandemic, it prolonged the filming. And we finally got season 3 of Cobra Kai, which dropped literally
3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock this morning. And being the nerds that we are, we had to watch this. So obviously we were finishing season 2 last night. We started falling asleep, so he had to come early. We finished off season 2, and then we started season 3. Obviously, season 3 starts off with
Miguel in the hospital.
Miguel in the hospital, and all the stuff that's happening, which is
it was 2 weeks after he fell because he had the 5 o'clock shadow going on.
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks after, literally.
But Lawrence what is happening to Johnny Lawrence? I mean, not Johnny Lawrence. Daniel LaRusso's business.
Oh, Daniel LaRusso's business is caving.
Caving in.
It's caving in because literally the whole town sees it as Miyagi's dojo destroyed this kid, his daughter, and the Robbie. Literally. Is the one who did it. He was trained by Mr. LaRusso. Mm-hmm. So because of that, the town was like,
"Hey." The town starts seeing Miyagi-Do as a bunch of bullies.
Yeah, it's like in one of the episodes in season 3. The episode, one of them was the line he's quoted was, "Don't treat karate like it's footloose." Mm-hmm. So it's like they're trying to, it's karate was bad. They dubbed karate bad, so they wanted to Bangkok his business. Like nobody went to his business. Nobody. So then, and the guy wanted to buy him out.
So Cole went to try to buy him out because
he stole the contract.
What's his name? Daniel was losing his business. So what happened with Daniel next?
Cole stole a contract from Diona Industries, which is a company in Japan that imports cars to them, and he was about to get the contract by the beginning of that in the storyline next month. And so what he decided to do was go down there personally.
He went down there personally. He went down there personally, met with them. They decided to turn him down, and he ended up because he said that he wanted to. He wished that he could meet up with Mr. Miyagi so he can talk to him. And but this is when he met up with.
He was in the bar drinking, talking about a bartender, saying all that. And then the bartender was like, let me handle somebody else. And while the camera follows him and the bartender, and behind the bartender was a sign. It was literally a sign saying...
Well, he told him to go, because he said, have you ever been here before? And he said, yeah, I went to Okinawa, Japan. And he's like, why don't you go back?
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then you see the sign that pretty much tells him, go back.
And so he met... Well, he didn't meet first.
He goes to Toomey Village.
Mm-hmm. Which is now Toomey Green Village.
Yeah, because back in the day, Toomey Village was literally a bunch of huts and shacks and all that stuff. But now, what does it look like?
It's a strip mall. Journey Gardens Mall.
Clubs, all this stuff. So all of a sudden, he hears little Oriental music playing. And what does he see on the stage?
Kumiko.
Kumiko, who was the dancer, the Asian girl from part 2, she is literally doing a dance for the little kids, and he sees her, and they have this interaction together.
We find out that one dance made her famous. That one dance got her into UCLA. That one dance got her traveling all over the world dancing. And for her to come back to where she was to teach other little kids.
But it was good to see her. They talk. They catch up with what they've been doing for the past, 30 years?
Yep.
And she still hasn't gotten married or something like that, right? No marriage.
And her exact words were, I didn't find anybody because no one wanted to fight to the death for me.
And
that was like a jab. Like, hey, you didn't marry me.
You should have came back. He was like, Beyonce, I had you. You left me to dance because you don't have one dance. So they spoke, and that's when he speaks to her and says, "I wish I could talk to Mr. Miyagi." And she's like, "Well, you can. You can find ways to do it. You should go to no, they speak or whatever." And all of a sudden, Chosen shows up, and he's like, "Did you orchestrate this?" And she's like, "You guys should talk things out." All of a sudden, Chosen and him have this whole talk, which was the guy from the villain from part 2 that he fights in the
one who almost killed her.
The guy who almost killed her, yeah. But yeah, they end up talking, and Chosen and him start talking, and he literally you see Chosen looking pissed off, like he looks like he's still upset of the loss. But they start talking about Mr. Miyagi and what Mr. Miyagi taught Daniel LaRusso, and then Chosen's kind of like dumbfounded that he knows so much about Mr. Miyagi's past. He's like, he told you all that? And he's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden they start talking about, they go into
a
dojo that is Chosen's dojo. And he starts looking through these little scrolls, and then he finds out. Obviously, we already knew that Chosen's uncle was trained by Mr. Miyagi's father.
Yep.
So they had the same teacher. So obviously, Chosen's been taught by ninja by the crane technique. So they start talking. He's like, "Oh yeah, Mr. Miyagi taught me everything he knew." He's like, "Oh, did he?" And then they decide to spar, pretty much, Chosen and Daniel. And then you find out that Daniel didn't really know everything that Mr. Miyagi taught him, which was this new technique where it paralyzes the pressure points. It was a Miyagi pressure point thing or whatever. I don't know. Daniel asks Chosen to teach him, which is pretty crazy because we kind of called it. We said maybe Chosen would teach him something, and he becomes his teacher, which is crazy because they were opposing forces in the second film.
Yeah.
So yeah, right then he's in Japan learning all this stuff, but yet
we rewind time
in the U.S. There's a bunch of stuff going on with his daughter trying to become a leader for Miyagi-Do, but at the same time, Cobra Kai is literally beating on Miyagi-Do and their members, and just so much stuff is going on, and she builds a fear.
Yeah, there was one scene where the Miyagi-Do decided to do a fundraiser, and they got other people involved. There was cheerleaders, there was a whole bunch of people involved in a car wash to help build money for Miguel's surgery. And
they rob him.
Cobra Kai
robs him. And with the point where they break Dimitri's arm.
Yep.
They break Dimitri's arm, and it's literally Eli, his best friend, who breaks his arm. And what's her name?
Tori.
No, not Tori. Samantha is frozen in fear. She develops this fear, a panic attack. Tori, at this point, you don't know where she wants to go, but yet she is torn between like she wants to be there for her family. She decides to leave martial arts, yet John Kreese ends up talking to her to come back.
It worked.
Yeah, you think that she's gonna come back, but now that okay, I don't want to say too much. You keep, because I keep saying everything. You got.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You got to talk. I'll tell you straight out that the story got very, very complex and convoluted because during this whole series, this whole part, season 3.
Because you got to remember, teenagers go through a lot. Like when we were teenagers, we went through a lot.
But the thing is, the pieces, like
Miguel, so much.
Miguel being an allegiance with Johnny Lawrence, and Johnny Lawrence being against John Kreese, and John Kreese taking over Cobra Kai. Now Johnny Lawrence had his own pupil, and he had broken away from Cobra Kai, so now he was starting his own thing. Eagle Fang Karate, which was, like they said, a stupid name. But certain members of Cobra Kai who weren't fitting in anymore because they were
considered
weaklings or excluded or whatever because they wouldn't do certain things. They ended up going to Eagle Fang, or some of them went to Miyagi-Do. So now there was three dojos that were going to go up against, and you had three different teachers. You have Johnny Lawrence, Kreese, and freaking Daniel. Yep. And now everything's, like I said, it's getting very convoluted, very all over the place.
Right when we think the action's going to get better, the judge from the community decides to say, "Hey, we're shutting down the tournament."
They shut down the tournament, so now all three senseis have to go and talk them to restart the tournament. At this point, Miguel has come out of his coma, not his coma, his paralysis. He's being trained by Johnny to start to walk again. We all thought that maybe Ali with an eye was going to come up because we know that she was a doctor. Yeah. So we thought that she was going to come back and she was going to help him start to walk. But no, he learned through Johnny. But she came right at the nick of time to kind of like give a closure to both story arcs, which was with Johnny Lawrence and with
literally that episode. The way it opened up, spoilers, we're sorry.
Christmas.
It opened on Christmas with this lady.
I love how it was Christmas and they gave us a gift.
Yeah,
that was a nice gift. Elizabeth's shoe.
All I know is this lady going upstairs, and we're looking at this lady like, who the hell is this lady? And all of a sudden, and all of a sudden, camera goes in and she's sitting on the couch. We flipped.
What is it with this thing in the first movie? Her name was Ali with an I, and then you hear when they introduce Tori, she's Tori with a Y, and then in this last season she talks to Daniel and she goes Daniel with an L. It's like, is it with one L or
no? Because you got some people spell
with different. It's just funny how
Tori,
they did that.
Tori people spell it sometimes with an I.
Yeah,
like Tori spelling. Her last name is Tori.
Yes. But obviously Johnny Lawrence
and while all that's happening, we have Robbie. He's in juvie.
He's in juvie, and then he gets out.
He's gone.
He gets out, and what's the biggest surprise?
The first thing he sees when he gets out. Well, not the first thing, because the first thing he saw was these two still arguing about the karate thing.
Yeah.
But the second thing he sees basically is Miguel and Samantha
rekindling their old relationship or whatever. So he gets pissed off, and he said, but at this point already, Miguel looks like he's trading sides, so he's with the Eagle, but you can see that he's getting closer to Miyagi-Do. So, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, so if Miguel's going to the good side, he's becoming a Jedi. So then somebody's gonna go to the dark side and become a Sith, and that just happens to be freaking Robbie. Like, he is jumping ship and he goes to join John Kreese, and oh my god, that was just so crazy. So eventually, this love triangle is going haywire all over the place, and we get the big finale, because obviously, first season, we thought that it was going to end on the All Valley tournament again, but no, this time, I guess season 4 will be the tournament, because that's where they leave it open to. But you got... Season 1 was the All Valley tournament. Season 2 was the big brawl at the school, and now Season 3 ends up with there's a whole bunch of the students inside Daniel LaRusso's house, and they're chilling. And all of a sudden, the little blonde kid goes outside, and he gets thrown through a window, and it turns out that Cobra Kai come inside and they attack. The first group is led by Hawk, and then the second group is led by Tori, and then this all-out brawl breaks out inside the house. They're beating the ever-living crap out of each other, and then but another side story was literally the background or the backstory of John Kreese and him in the Vietnam War, and you hear them talk about of Terry Silver, who was the villain for Part 3,
which we find out how John Kreese saved him. Mm-hmm. We find out the reason, which I think the reason why it's called Cobra Kai, because it's literally
the snakes. But I mean, it wasn't specific snakes; it was all types of snakes. There was this pit where these Viet Cong had these
American
soldiers fight to the death. And they had to throw the person down, and then that was their enthusiasm, their what was it, their entertainment.
Yep.
So Terry Silver turns out to be kind of a coward, and John Kreese decides to step in for him. And at there, you hear he says, "Whenever you need me, I will always be there." That's why he helps him out in Karate Kid 3, and it looks like he will be in season 4. I kept saying from the beginning that Tori, this would be Tori's father, but unfortunately, it looks like he's.
We're still trying to figure out who Tori's parents are.
But you said Mike Barnes.
I say Mike Barnes because we went all over the place with this.
So throughout this series, throughout the third series,
you didn't meet her parents.
They drop Terry Silver's name. Okay, so obviously he's coming on. They show Mike Barnes and the scene where he's fighting LaRusso in the third film, and then in one scene within the season, we know that Hilary Swank's character Julie was doing her kata while she was listening to the Cranberries, a band singing the song Dream. All of a sudden, at what point do they mention the Cranberries?
When Kumiko
mentions the Cranberries,
that
and
she
she's
traveled the world and she went to this tour,
and she's heard Zombie, Linger, and Dreams, which were sung by the Cranberries. So those are 3 clues of stuff that could be coming for season 4. Because we all know that after the movie I Am Mother, Hilary Swank, which I was looking at an interview that they did for the movie I Am Mother, which is also a Netflix film that was really, really good. We know that they asked her about Cobra Kai, that she had never heard about this series, but her kids were telling her that she should do it, and they asked her, would she come on? And she's like, I never knew. If they asked me, we would have to have that conversation. Because obviously, these are 2 of Miyagi's students, Daniel LaRusso and Hilary Swank, which was Julie's son. But maybe not fight. Everybody wants to see them fight each other. I don't think that they should fight each other. I think that they should just come face to face.
I stated that it would have been an awesome scene to have Danielson, go pay his respect again to Mr. Miyagi, and just have her already there while he's walking
at the cemetery.
Yeah, and just come face to face, like, hey, I heard him talk about you.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
Even if they don't fight, or even if she doesn't do nothing, but them to acknowledge themselves.
See, I stated that Tori's father would be Terry Silver. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look like it right now. Nope. But you stated, how about if that's her, if Mike Barnes is her father?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that could also be a possibility. Then when another thing that kind of I thought, I don't think it is. I don't think they stated it. I thought that maybe John Kreese was really Johnny Lawrence's father, and it, because he said 3 generations of Cobra Kai, yeah, so it would. I thought that might be a connection.
Connection.
But yes, we totally went away from the finale of season 3. They had this big old fight sequence in the house. Throughout the fight sequence, you see that Dimitri obviously is fighting with Miyagi-Do. What's his name?
Hawk.
No, not Hawk. The other guy, Miguel. He is part of Eagle Claw or Eagle Fang. But it looks like they're both on the same side.
Yeah, because they found out it's better 2 dojos versus 1 instead of all 3 fighting against each other.
And then we have what's his name, Eli, who is known as Hawk in Cobra Kai. But halfway through this freaking sequence of
awesome fight
sequences everywhere, you see. One of the guys, I guess he gives the thumbs up to Hawk, who is on his side, and then all of a sudden Hawk realizes that what he's doing is all wrong, and he sees that they're about to break on Dimitri's arm yet again, so he decides to flip the script and starts running.
And what makes you think that he's about to break the kid's arm? No, I called it midway.
I knew it right off the bat. To tell you the truth, I saw it coming when every time they would they would do things, he would just be like, he looked like he was thinking it over, like, what am I doing the right thing? But at that moment, he made his mind up, and he started kicking his own team's butt, Cobra Kai, and then they all become this freaking unison battle, and they start beating the crap out of each other and all that stuff, and I forgot how it ended.
No, Tori and Samantha are fighting in the dojo.
Oh, and they all meet up.
And they all meet up, and they all.
And Robbie's standing there too, right? No, Robbie's not in there. You said.
I said, where's Robbie throughout this whole fight scene? Where is he? And where was he? Training with Kreese.
With Kreese, but the thing is, it was Hawk, Dimitri, and Miguel are standing in front of the dojo, Miyagi-Do, and then Tori says, "Oh, we're gonna come back," and Dimitri says, "Oh, but she will have her back," and all this other stuff, and then she walks away, and then the next scene, he goes into the dojo.
No, next scene is Johnny Lawrence going to the dojo to find Kreese,
and fight him, and that's when he finds
out that his own son is. Oh my god!
And then a fight breaks out between Kreese and Johnny Lawrence, and they're going back and forth in each other and all that stuff. And Kreese is about to lose, so who jumps in?
Kreese is winning.
Is he?
Kreese has Johnny in the chokehold.
Okay.
And then who comes in out of nowhere? Daniel kicks Kreese off of him. And then all you hear is the infamous Thanos scene. This was inevitable. I was like, really?
And then all of a sudden, where did Daniel go at that point that Johnny Lawrence and his son started fighting?
No, Johnny Lawrence and his son started fighting before because he tried
and he throws him against the locker, knocks him out
on the floor. Yeah,
knocks him out, and then all of a sudden Daniel comes in, and he sees him on the floor.
They get kicked out of the window,
and then Kreese grabs him. They fly out the window. And who's outside? Anybody?
Who's outside? Nobody yet. A couple of hits were done, and then I don't know where you see Lawrence come out, and they were about to fight him, and then the kids come out of nowhere, Miguel and tell him to stop.
And they said, we're going to sell this at the tournament.
And it literally each sensei had their own pupil next to him. It was Lawrence with Miguel, Daniel with his daughter, and Kreese with
Robbie.
Man.
Robbie switched sides, he jumped ship.
It was an emotional battle when you saw Robbie with LaRusso.
Yeah, and then
finally, now you see him.
And then you see John Kreese go in the back, and then you hear that little last piece where Terry Silver tells Kreese, whenever you need me or whatever you need me, just call me. And he goes,
he grabs the phone and
starts calling him.
He's like, it's been a while.
It's been a while. I mean, same thing that they did in Karate Kid 3.
Yep.
He called him, even though he lost because he was covered in paint. But still, dude, what an emotional... Yo, I'll tell you right now, we watched this show back to back.
Oh, man.
With the movies, and just to see these two finales.
I'm going to be honest with you, that's the best way to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
That is the best way to watch it. Watch the four movies.
And the funny thing is that you get both aspects, because you got Johnny Lawrence's story and then you got Daniel LaRusso's story. But what does Hollywood and I say?
Ali said
you guys got both different stories, and then it's the side of truth.
Which is what we saw after we saw everything. Basically what it was. We saw, right now we know the truth of the story because we got both sides.
So did it establish that Johnny Lawrence was going to continue dating? Oh no, he's with the girl, Carmen. That's right. Miguel's mom. So it was more of a closure thing. I think she just came.
The Ali episode was for closure.
I think it was just she came to give us not only that little bit of nostalgia back, but to actually see the finale of that story, to give us a closure for all that. So, I mean, I guess now we need Terry Silver. I want to see Terry Silver. These are the ones that I want to see. Barnes, Hilary Swank's character, Julie.
And that's it.
And I need to see Jessica Andrews. I need to see Robin Lively come back one last time, because she was in part 3. She wasn't a love interest for Daniel, but she was a friend. And to see all these people, I'll tell you right now, that's all we need. That completes every single character that was important
in the movies.
Series.
Yeah,
in the series, they showed the mom. They even showed Miyagi in flashbacks.
And we even got to see Lawrence's stepfather and his mother.
Yes, through flashbacks.
We even got to see that.
So I mean, This has been an amazing adventure watching all these movies and these. I mean, and like nerds like us, as you can see, I even put on my Cobra Kai Never Die shirt on. We will be moving on to a new marathon.
We don't know which one yet, though.
I mean,
individually we know what we're doing.
I kind of have in my head what I want to do. What's the next marathon? But right now, it is so freeing to know that we have finished Cobra Kai. It has finally came. This pandemic did not stop us for it.
No,
we did not die in the midst of them. You know, feel sorry for all the people who passed away during this pandemic. But it's hard. But yeah, this was an awesome, happy New Year's Day. We got to enjoy. We ordered food. We got to enjoy Cobra Kai and just be nerds. A lot of people are out there. Probably right now, there's a lot of people with hangovers and freaking just waking up right now, and we had an amazing time. I woke up with a headache, took up some Advil, ate some food, walked my dog, and got right into it, yo. Oh man, this was an awesome day.
I'm just mad that we have to wait another year
to get season 4. And we finally get to see Terry Silver. I wanted to see Terry Silver come back this season, but at least we got a closure with Ali. And we got to see Chosen and Kumiko,
which is kind of funny that they did it this way because we saw them first.
Yeah,
in the movie series.
Yeah,
so it works out.
But we got a closure with Kumiko. But then again, Kumiko hasn't gotten married, so maybe her and Chosen might have a future. Who knows? But that story's over. We got to see
the guy who tried killing him.
We got to see Chosen train Daniel.
Yeah.
And we got to see the ending of the story with Ali. I really wanted to know the story between Ali and Danny, how they ended.
Well, in the dinner that they have together, she says it. That they were in college. He got transferred to a college that he went to visit her.
Oh, he got jealous.
He got jealous, and then he drove, and the brakes were bad in the car. He crashed the car. When we saw the movie,
he blamed her. So that's pretty crazy. And Mr. Miyagi will never know the truth.
Nope.
He passed away. But yes, this has been another episode of Kny'tes in Review. It's specifically long because we did a whole marathon.
Oh,
but yes, I am Dave D. Saint. Again, I am Dave_D_Saint. You can find me on all the major social medias. If you can't find me under that, you can look me up as David Santiago. If you want to play video games with me, the only game right now, obviously, that I have, I probably have other ones. I just haven't even uploaded them. But Dead by Daylight, you can play me under Ariel Dean 81, and drop your links.
I am Logan LeBeau. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and your room, as always. Yeah, hey, when they watch us, I'm in their room.
Oh, true.
And if you're playing PlayStation, I'm also again Logan6336 LeBeau. I am playing, of course, wrestling games. I am playing Dead by Daylight as well. And now for the Switch, I'm starting to play Among Us. Oh. I bought it for the Switch.
So until next time, we will be doing probably another marathon. This was very fun.
Oh yeah.
Or probably do something else. Who knows? We'll probably take a break. I don't know. But yes, stay tuned to our wrestling podcast. We also have a Kny'tes in Review podcast with the guys. We just dropped the New Year's Eve podcast, which was you shot it yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's up now. So you guys can definitely listen to that on Anchor.fm. You can also hear it on Spotify. You can hear it on our hashtags. You can
Instagram, see it on our pages.
On our pages. You can find it on our Instagrams and all that stuff. We're going to be working on getting it on other ways of doing it. I just have to figure out how. But yes, you guys have a good night. Happy New Year's. And
in the words of Gus J. Rule 777,
take care, man.